Welcome back, guys, and in today's video you're going to be meeting the head coach and roster of our Salt Lake City Flyers. If you happen to miss the introduction to the series, what we're going to be doing is replicating what the NFL would look like if an Alliance of American Football team was to take the place of an NFL team via relegation. So we took the Arizona Cardinals, simulated the 2018 season with the exact results of real life, relocated the Cardinals to Salt Lake City, and the Stallions of the Alliance have now been rebranded to the Flyers of the NFL. Every player has been cut, the coach has been fired, and a new era is ready to begin. So we're going to start here with the head coach, which normally in Madden means absolutely nothing, but that's because you've all yet to meet Thomas Dishman. Now, Thomas here has a long and winding road that's led him to the NFL, and by long and winding, I mean toxic, shameful, and overall despicable, and we're going to give you a quick recap of that history right now. So Dishman started as a youth football coach where he led his Grass Valley Gophers to 3 consecutive district titles before being run out of town after it was discovered he was using team money raised by the kids to fund his growing Pokemon addiction. When grilled by the media during his introductory press conference with the Flyers, Dishman, angered by the question, responded with, "I don't think you understand. You have to catch them all." So from there, Dishman then moved a few towns over, taking over another youth football team in the Lakeport Llamas, and after one disastrous season that saw 7 parent-coach altercations and 13 players put on injured reserve due to verbal assault, Dishman realized it was time to make the move to a place where his players would have a bit thicker skin. So enter Canyon Middle School and Dishman's redemption. Kind of. Dishman took over a struggling Canyon Condor squad and turned them into a District 8 powerhouse overnight, leading them to 6 straight championships. Dishman's redemption would be short-lived, however, after it was discovered that the Gatorade the coach was supplying players with on a day-to-day basis was actually a cocktail of steroids meant for everything from horses to bison, and even included trace amounts of white rhino DNA. So facing multiple felonies, Dishman pled guilty on all charges, taking a plea deal, and was sent to the Hamlin Grove Penitentiary to spend 5 to 10 years in prison. And due to his coaching experience, part of the plea deal was becoming the coach of the prison's football team. And after 2 seasons, the Hamlin Grove Hippos only had a combined record of 4-10, but records showed that the players involved in the football program were 87% more likely to get out on parole, which was directly attributed to Dishman's motto, "Tackles, not shackles." And after spending 2 years and 236 days in jail, Dishman was released on good behavior. And now a free man with the ability to push lives in the right direction on his resume, it was time for Dishman to shape young lives at the high school ranks, where he took over as head coach of Battle Creek High School. Dishman spent 4 years at the school before being dismissed from the team after school officials became aware of Dishman's excessive use of tackle battles during practice. And despite the laundry list of issues, Dishman was able to still somehow find a job with Lawson State University, where he only lasted 1 season after, well, let's just say him and the chancellor's wife were caught making a few too many big decisions, if you know what I mean. Which brings us to present day, where somehow, some way, this character, through all his trials and tribulations, has become the NFL's most controversial coach. Don't ask me how, don't ask me why. The NFL works in mysterious ways, friends. So now that our Pokemon-addicted, child-juicing, tackle battle-loving, home-wrecking convict of the coach is out of the way, how about that roster that he will be leading? Now, I know I said in the introduction video that I was going to only be taking scheme fits only, Scheme Lake Fitty Flyers, you guys know the deal, but something I saw a lot of in the comments was that you guys wanted actual players from the AAF, and that was initially the plan, and given the story I'm telling, that obviously makes a lot more sense. But because I had simmed through an entire season to relocate the team, I wasn't sure that I could actually build an entire roster out of those players, because I wasn't sure how many of those players would actually be left. But as it turns out, I was able to pick up quite a few players that had ties to the Alliance. Not enough for a full roster, but hopefully enough to satisfy you guys, and I think it ended up turning out pretty well. I could have had a full roster had I gone back and edited guys or used a different roster, but I already had the franchise set up, so this is the way it's going to have to be. All that being said, though, moving forward, I will still be following that scheme fit model when it comes to scouting, drafting, free agents, and all of that to add that increased challenge to building the team. But for this initial roster, I got as many Alliance players as I could. So starting with with our 47 rated offense, and at quarterback, we're starting at the top. We've got Christian Hackenberg at a whopping 63 overall, and the former second round pick is currently a part of the Memphis Express in the Alliance. He's currently slated as the starter, but I want to get your guys' opinion here in a second as we move along to the next quarterback in Logan Woodside, who is currently on the San Antonio Commanders. And then lastly, this is what I wanted your guys' opinion on. Our last quarterback is Austin Allen, who is currently the starting quarterback for the Salt Lake City Stallions. So do you guys think I should start Hackenberg, who I had slated as the starter, or go with Allen since he's actually part of the real Salt Lake City team? I was going to go with Hackenberg, but now that I talk about it, I think Allen really is the move. Moving to running back, where our top back was the Alliance's leading rusher after week 1 in Akeem Hunt of the Orlando Apollos, and he is actually a former Chief, so we're pretty familiar with him. Then we also have Akram Wadley of the Atlanta Legends, Trey Williams of the San Antonio Commanders, and Davion Smith, who is also a member of the Orlando Apollos. And then down there at fullback is Joe Carriage, who isn't in the Alliance, as there were no fullbacks on the free agent list, so I just signed the lowest possible scheme fit, and that was going to be him. But the plan right now with this bunch is to have Hunt be the main back, and then Davion Smith be the power back. Hunt will also be the third down back, but it'll be mainly those two guys getting all the carries. At receiver, we've got Jalen Marshall, who is on the Orlando Apollos and is going to be our top receiver. Behind him, it's going to be Bug Howard of the Atlanta Legends, and then I have DeMaurier Stringfellow there because he was on the Memphis Express but was actually released just under a week ago, and as you can see, we only have 5 receivers on the roster, so I'm just going to keep him. Below him is Dontez Bird, who is still on the Memphis Express, and then lastly, we have Ishmael Zamora, who is on the San Antonio Commanders. Moving to tight ends, which is probably by far our deepest position, at least offensively, we have Braden Bowman of the Birmingham Iron as the number 1 tight end, Thomas Duarte of the Arizona Hotshots is the number 2, and then Scott Orndorff of the Orlando Apollos is the number 3. At offensive tackle, we have a pair of 62 overall left tackles in Toby Weathersby of the Memphis Express and Daniel Brunskill of the San Diego Fleet. And then with no tackles from the Alliance left, I signed the worst scheme fit possible in Austin Fleer, who's going to be on the right side. Moving inside to the interior linemen, we have Damian Mama of the San Diego Fleet and Jeremiah Putasi of the Salt Lake City Stallions at right guard. Then at center, we have Demetrius Rainey of the Memphis Express, and at left guard, a couple of 50s overall players in Bo Nunn and Chris Gonzalez, who are both currently members of the San Diego Fleet. But now we move to the defensive side of the ball, where we boast a nice 55 overall rating, and you can already see why with the studs we have at defensive end. At the top is Jaron Elliott of the San Antonio Commanders, and he'll be paired with Demontre Moore of the San Diego Fleet. Backing them up will be Anthony Johnson of the Memphis Express, and then Chunky Clements, who, like DeMaurier Stringfellow, was recently released from his Alliance team, but there's no way I'm cutting a defensive lineman named Chunky. Moving inside to defensive tackle, we have Ricky Hatley and Johnny Maxey, who will be the starters and are both currently members of the Birmingham Iron, and then backing them up are Joshua Frazier, who is also on the Iron, and then Trenton Thompson, who is currently playing for the Arizona Hotshots. At outside linebackers, we have Carl Bradford, also of Arizona Hotshot fame, leading the group at a 71 overall. Then opposite him will be Frank Ginda of the San Diego Fleet. Backing up Bradford will be former Jaguar and current San Antonio Commander Tyrone Holmes, and joining him on the bench will be Edmund Robinson, a former 7th round draft pick by the Vikings and current Arizona Hotshot, and then lastly Chris Odom, who is on the Salt Lake City Stallions. Moving inside at linebacker, we have both Trayvon Johnson and Alvin Jones, and neither of them are a part of the Alliance, so they're going to be benched, and Joel Lanning of the San Antonio Commanders and his 58 overall will be starting at middle linebacker. Shifting to the back of the defense and the secondary, we have a nice stable of practice squad corners, and leading the group are Marquez White and Zach Sanchez of the Apollos and Commanders respectively, and then behind them is Channing Stribling, who is a member of the Memphis Express. The remaining 3 are not part of the Alliance and are the worst possible scheme fits I could sign, and based on their player pictures, it appears that they're also characters that we unlock later in the season. And then wrapping up the defense with the safeties, we have Deron Smith of the Commanders and Quincy Mauger of the Atlanta Legends, who will be the starters, while another pair of lock characters in Chris Cooper, who isn't in the Alliance, and Micah Hanneman, who is part of the Salt Lake City Stallions, will back them up. And then lastly, for the 53-man roster will be the specialists, where Nick Rose will be the kicker and he's on the Commanders, Jeff Locke of the Hotshots will be the punter, and Jeff Overbaugh of the Atlanta Legends will be the long snapper, and that's just to keep with realism as well as making building a roster a bit tougher. Moving to the practice squad, I do have a couple of more players from the Alliance in running back Larry Rose and then tight end Cole hunt. Outside of that, I just signed a bunch of low-rated scheme fits that don't really need introducing because you're likely never going to actually see them. But as we wrap up, we're going to take a quick look at the schedule, which looks like this: Bengals, Seahawks, Rams, Niners, Seahawks, Saints, 49ers, Falcons, Lions, Steelers, Rams, Ravens, Buccaneers, Browns, Giants, and Panthers. Looks like 16-0, boys, but that's going to do it. Let me know how I did on the roster and who you're most looking forward to seeing. I think that I've got around 40 or so players from the AAF, so considering the situation, I think that's pretty good. I'm not sure when there will be games yet. The Riverhog season is wrapping up, and I'd like to kind of sync things up with that somewhat. And I'm also planning on putting out a separate sliders video going over the settings that I'll be using for both franchises. And then I really need to finish up the next franchise wishlist video as well. So I'm going to try to keep getting as much done as possible without really slowing down. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video and are looking forward to the series. My next video on the channel will be the divisional round of the Riverhogs franchise against the Chargers, so you're not going to want to miss that. But until then, hope you guys have a great day, and as always, thanks for watching.